Hey y'all, Coach DJ here. It's Friday night, about 6 o'clock here, Eastern time. And I'm going to head out for a nice walk in a few minutes, but I wanted to jump on because I had something on my mind like all day that I wanted to share with you. And I wasn't sure exactly what to say, so this is a little bit spontaneous, but it kind of boils down to why um, at the age of 71, I decided to quit my corporate job and finish my certification program as a health coach. And it really all boils down to maybe two words. One is frustration, extreme frustration about the traditional medical system. And maybe the second part of it is the lack of personalization for an individual's health. So throughout my life, I had medical issues. Um, I had gut issues since I was in college. I was put on thyroid medication. Oh, at least 45 years ago. I struggled with those very serious health issues or gut issues, um, to the point of it almost being debilitating. Some years ago, I had been bleeding internally, and nobody was really sure why. And then in 2012, I had to have a heart stent put in, even though, my heartbeat was good. I didn't have high blood pressure. I was told I didn't even have high cholesterol. But back then, I wasn't really even tracking any of my blood work. I was just mindlessly listening to the doctors and doing what they told me to do, which, of course, most of the time it was just like, here, I'm writing this prescription, take it. And no one was really addressing diet and lifestyle issues, much less getting at um, the functional reasons that I was struggling with these diseases. And so I totally went rogue and started my own research journey. I am a bit of a research geek anyway, and you cannot believe how many YouTube videos I have saved over the years, all categorized by, health condition or whatever. And I just started self educating. And one of the first steps that I took is walking away from a couple of my traditional doctors. Back when I lived in Colorado, I decided to start seeing, he was a traditional practitioner, so he took my insurance. Um, but he was also a DO and had been trained in functional medicine. And he was somewhat helpful, but based on the traditional medical model, he did always resort to meds, and and he did spend a little bit more time with me than prior doctors had. So I had that as kind of a foundation for learning that the doctor visit um, experience could be a little bit different. Um, I At that time I also started learning how to read my own lab reports, blood tests, carotid scans, that kind of thing. Um, I insisted that they be, uploaded into my patient portal, and if they didn't have a portal, then I went home with a physical copy. And I have physical copies of medical records for probably the past 5 years, so I can look at trends and things like that. But I got a little bit frustrated with that doctor as well. After I went to a follow-up visit after some blood tests, and I wanted to decrease my thyroid meds. And at the time, I was on just Synthroid. I had started on Armor Thyroid, a more natural version of thyroid medication, years before But long story short, I couldn't get it anymore and I had to make the transition to Synthroid. Anyway, based on the results of how I was feeling and the results of the blood tests, I wanted to go from my prescription of 112 micrograms to 100. And he literally said, "You will crash and burn." And I said, "Well, I still have some of the 112 in a supply, but please write me a prescription for the 100. So he did. I felt no different. So even despite the fact that I had been on that for many years, I was delighted that I was successfully, reducing that medication. Um, at right around that time, I walked away from the cardiologist that I had been seeing. Um, and by the way, as a reminder, I'm not a doctor and I am not recommending that you do what I did because maybe it wasn't that smart. But I had been seeing a cardiologist. Again, this was in Denver. And I asked him if I'd been on statins since 2012 when I had the stent surgery. And I had learned about the negative effects of statins, and I believed I was experiencing some of those. So I asked him if I could get off of them, and he asked me to come in for a stress test, and I passed the stress test very well, and he did some labs, and he blessed, believe it or not, he blessed me getting off the statins. Um, but I decided to walk away from him anyway. And what I did next is, even though I'm a little bit frugal, I decided to start working with a functional medicine practitioner in the Denver area. And of course, that was all cash. Again, I had a corporate job at the time, so I had a decent income rather than living on Social Security and my retirement income. And that was generally a very good experience. And I learned what personalized medicine is and how you can test differently and you can be the beneficiary of literally personalized medicine. Um, that relationship ended because my cholesterol was high, and this particular doctor wanted me to go back on statins. And he himself had heart issues, and he himself was on statins, and I refused. I said I will adapt my lifestyle and my diet, and I will overcome this issue. So the next thing I did is I found it, by the way, trying to find these people where you also have kind of connection that are local and aren't absurdly expensive. It's not easy. That in itself can take quite a while. So the next thing I did is I found a naturopathic clinic in Arizona who first and foremost is known for treating heart disease. But the lady that I worked with, a naturopathic physician trained in cardiac disease, I worked with her for about 2 years. And she could treat me, even write prescriptions if I needed them, as long as I just visited the clinic one time. So I flew from Denver to Scottsdale just one time, went through all their testing, massive, massive amounts of testing. But from then on, for about the next year and a half to 2 years, I worked almost exclusively with her, and she never recommended a prescription for my cardiac issues. But she was very, very expensive, and as I followed this clinic, I just became a little bit cynical about them, and so I decided to walk away from them. So fast forward, I moved to North Carolina, and starting all over, trying to find doctors. And the whole point of this is to say, you know, navigating your health journey is not easy. Um, the first part of my health journey, like for many years from college, like up until not very long ago, one of my first things is just because I was vain. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to change my body composition. So weight loss was really big on my issue. But what I was eating at all those years was not serving my body well. And it took a very long time for me to learn that. And so, back to why I went into this health coaching program is I wanted to kind of consolidate the learnings that I've had and use the coaching program as a foundation as I continue with my research to help my clients. And trust me, coaching is a lot cheaper than functional medicine doctors or high end naturopathic cardiology physicians. Um, so, if anyone has any interest or any questions, I am open to a basically a free initial discussion to see if this would be something that would be of interest to you. I can tell you a little bit about how I get the process started, and we can go from there. And I want to keep things very simple. Um, I will never be posting like cooking videos because I eat very clean, very simple. I may post some images of things that I eat, but basically I get up in the morning, I look at my freezer and I go, what kind of meat do I want? Do I want to have eggs with it? And then I defrost it and then I cook it when I'm hungry. And I have there's lots and lots of health coaches and others that can help you with the kinds of recipes that you might be looking for depending on what kind of eating plan that you prefer. And I'm very, very biased toward keto, ketovore, and carnivore for many reasons. And I would just love to have a chance to chat with you briefly and see if this is something that would be of interest to you. So ping me in the comments or DM me, and God bless.